Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Life According to Nikki. If you listened last week, you would know that today is part 2 of 3 parts with my flesh and blood, my brother, Robbie. Now, I don't know if you can see through the audio the flames that are just eating up my pants right now because I'm a big fat liar. I told you all that this was going to be the funny episode, the one where we have kicks and giggles and talk about our most embarrassing stories on our missions. Nope, that's not what happened. I instead edited the heartfelt, honest part of us discussing our mission. So sorry if you came for the comical relief. I mean, hopefully you'll find some of this funny because I just think naturally we are quite humorous. But the embarrassing stories and stuff, that's not what's happening today. I'm very sorry if you're deeply disappointed by that. But it will be coming next week. I have nothing else left to edit, so I really have no other option. So I promise it really will come next week. And next week's audio was actually done at a separate time, so you'll get some more updates on me watching Bernie, the show that my brother told me in the last episode to watch. So you'll get to hear all about my thoughts on that movie and everything else next week. But for now, we're going to focus on what our missions were for us, why we went on them, what happened while we were there. It's really just going to be me blabbering most of the time because, isn't it always? It is my podcast. But you know, my brother does occasionally chime in, and that's just delightful. Without further ado, here's my intro song and part 2 with Robbie.
Are we kidding? All right, my brother, where'd you serve your mission?
I served my mission in Canada, Vancouver. Basically, the whole of British Columbia in Canada, which is right above Washington State.
Which is where?
Which is in the USA.
Which is where your wife served?
I was... which is... Where's Washington? My wife, Sarah, she served in Yakima, Washington.
Bless you.
Thank you.
All right, for anyone that doesn't know what a mission is, in 10 seconds or less, explain what a mission is.
10 seconds or less.
Your time.
You put me on these pressure
Clearly you're not a
things.
missionary anymore because you would have had that speech down.
A mission is where young men and young women are able to go and volunteer their time to go out to various places around the world and to teach people about the doctrine of Jesus Christ and to talk about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
That's great. Just for some basic facts, for anybody that doesn't know, you do pay to go on a mission.
I think it's standardized right now is about $10,000, so about $400 a month. I think it's less for the girls, right? You're only out for 18 months. Mm-hmm. For boys, you're out for 24 months. If you cannot afford there, obviously, we have missionaries all around the world, and $10,000 isn't reasonable for everybody. So that's why you have the general mission fund. But for missionaries who are in less affluent areas, for them, it is pay what it would take for a missionary to take your place in your area. So if you are in a very poor country and it only costs $5 a month to live out there or something like that, then that is the cost that person would pay to go to British Columbia, for example.
It really evens out because at the end of the day, like I served in Fresno, California, so our rent alone, obviously more than $400 a month, plus food, plus everything. So that's all subsidized.
Yeah.
So you pay the set amount and then they take here, distribute there. How many missionaries are out right now?
I want to say it's about 17,000.
It says right now the church has over 72,000 missionaries serving more than 150 countries, teaching in over 60 languages. And then this number includes nearly 5,300 senior missionaries. So you have young missionaries, which are usually 18 to 26 that you can go out. And then you have senior couples who, if they're retired, then they can go out on missions again or for the first time. Theirs is a lot more flexible. They have a lot less rules, obviously.
They're able to serve together.
They're able to help, and they can go to the movies. I mean, they can still live their lives, but they're like helping out. They're a lot more casual than like these 18-year-olds. You can't be letting 18-year-olds just run amok.
Yeah.
So what you do is when you get your mission call, you have no idea where you're going to go. You do all your paperwork, you get like a physical, you get approved mental health wise to go by physicians and all that, and your stake president, your bishop, all of your church leaders, they say, yep, you're good to go, and you commit to going. And then you get a call. It used to be in the mail, but now it's over email. So we both were in the time when you opened up your letter. It's a very big deal for most people, like in our church culture. I mean, it's like your Hogwarts letter. I mean, you could be sent anywhere in the world, told that you're going to speak any language, and you're going to be in that place for 1.5 to 2 years. I mean, it's a huge deal. So everyone comes over, there's usually food, everyone's really quiet while you read your letter, and then you reveal where you're going, and everyone cheers. It's awesome. How did you feel about your mission call?
I liked it. I thought it was fantastic. The one thing that I was scared of was going somewhere that was way out of my comfort zone, and I went to a first world country, and that's okay by me, so I was happy about it.
And you spoke English, too.
And I spoke English in a mission where we had missionaries that spoke Korean, Spanish, English, and they were getting Hindi as well.
Were you guys not close enough to Quebec to do French?
Quebec's on the other side of the country.
Oh, sure, for sure.
Yeah, that's on the other side.
Right, because you're by Washington.
Yes. Yeah.
By,
Quebec is by, like, New York.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Geography.
Right.
British Columbia has the largest population of Indian people outside of India itself.
Really?
So a lot of people immigrate from India to Vancouver area, especially from a tiny country. I think it's a country, maybe it's a state inside of India called Punjab. So there are a lot of people from Punjab in Vancouver, and their primary religion is Sikhism.
Yes, I had lots of Sikh on my mission.
And there are a lot of Sikh temples and a lot of men with very long beards and turbans and everything. I got to learn how to put a turban on. And then you also learn the different greetings. You say Sosa de Gal for hello, which I think is God is with you or something like that. And if some American says Sosa de Gal to a Punjabi, it's just the greatest thing in the world. And they're like characters on a bowling alley. When you get a strike, they throw their hands in the air and spin around, and they're so happy. The goal of your mission, at least in my mission, was you would have in parks a lot of these older Punjabi men who just sit around and play cards, right? And so we would call them the Quorum of the 12 or the Council, the High Council. And so your goal was to get a picture with the High Council. You would sit at the head of this park bench and get a picture with them, and you were so cool. And when you're stupid at 19, that was the funnest thing you could do, is insult somebody's culture and be culturally insensitive.
Oh my gosh, yeah, the culturally insensitive things that missionaries are doing on the day-to-day are, like, honestly painful, but you gotta give them, like, a little bit. I mean, not that it's an excuse at all, but I mean, they're 18 years old. They're idiots.
Yeah, I do think one of the hardest callings and or jobs in the world is to be a mission president. Is to be a babysitter of 200 plus missionaries. I mean, think back to when you were 18 and just got out of high school and you've never lived outside of your home, let alone lived with another person, and you're outside of the country most of the time, or I mean, at least outside of the state, right? You're expected to go and follow a schedule and be righteous. It's amazing that any work gets done on the mission and anybody gets converted.
I think about it all the time, because when you're in it, you are fully delusional. The blinders are on and you're like, obviously we can teach about Jesus. Us 18, 19, 20-year-olds. Like, everyone's gonna listen to us. We know everything that there is to know. But now, I'm like, how in the world are we letting these 18-year-olds, like, how is anything getting done?
Yep.
How are they not offending countries, nations? It's amazing. It really is.
It really is. That it is in spite of missionaries that obviously the work can get done.
Yeah, crazy. Anyways, going back to, you get called on your mission, then you get sent to what is called the Missionary Training Center. They have them all over the world, but the one that most get sent to is in Provo, Utah. And you spend anywhere from 3 weeks 2 weeks?
I was there for 2 weeks.
Really?
I think it's now extended out to 3 weeks, but I was in the group for 2 weeks.
Oh, wow. Yes, I was there for 3 weeks. And I think the longest time you're there is if you go to Finland, it's 11 weeks. Chinese might be 9 or something like that. And if you're going to a mission where you're learning language, it really is just like very intensive language training all day, every day. You're learning the language in and out. And so, of course, they all think that they know the language by the end of the 10 weeks. And then they go to the country. Heaven knew I couldn't handle that. So I went English speaking. Thank goodness. I knew I couldn't handle the cold. God knew that as well. Sent me to California. You usually have anywhere from like 150 to, I think the max is like, 350 missionaries in a mission?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the missions are geographically separated. So you have certain areas and boundaries, and then you have a mission president and his wife that are called, again, volunteer. They serve for 3 years. They get a home there. If they have a family, their family moves there. And they are in charge of those 150 to possibly 350 missionaries, these idiot kids, going out there, doing their best, but like they're in charge of them. If anything happens, they are the quote-unquote parents of those missionaries. And yeah, that job sounds really hard.
Your mission is, yes, a geographical area. So mine was all of British Columbia. Yours was probably half of Fresno or all of Fresno or whatever it is. And then you were assigned to areas within that mission area. So whether that be cities, whether that be suburbs and part of a town or something like that. And that's where you and a companion, you're paired with another missionary, you and a companion serve for what's called a transfer. You serve for 6 weeks, and then either you split up, you either go to a different area, or you get a new missionary with you, or you guys stay together. And your mission just consists of 6-week transfers. And you learn very quickly that you can do anything for 6 weeks. You get in that mindset that, you know what, I can do anything for this little bit of time. Then you get the transfer call, and it turns out neither of you are leaving, and that timer starts again. I can do anything for another 6 weeks, I guess.
Truly, for anyone that has not served a mission, or especially for my people that listen to this podcast that have never really heard of this outside of me telling them about my own, you are put with a stranger from anywhere in the world, and you are told that you cannot go without sight and sound of this stranger. Okay, think about that. Think about that for a second, okay? You're put with someone that has completely different habits than you, maybe speaks a different language. Maybe they don't even speak your language. You get sent to, like Paraguay, and they speak Spanish only. And you show up, and you have your 10 weeks of Spanish training, and that's it. And you're like, hola. And that's all you really know. You have to be with this companion, and you have to be in sight and sound of them. You can't be in separate rooms. In your own apartment, you can. But when you're out with people, in other people's homes and things, ours was super strict. You literally have to be seeing your companion at all times. You can't be away from them. There was just nothing like at the end of the day when I'm like, I will do anything. I will climb Mount Everest if it means getting away from you. I don't want to see you for one more second. Like the bathroom was your only solace. I was like, I just need 20 minutes in here because I can't look at your face for one more minute. I gotta breathe and remind myself I can do anything for 6 weeks. It's like day 3 of the transfer. I'm like, oh my gosh. And here's the thing about me. Here's the thing about my mission that was very rare. This does not usually happen. Usually, like Robbie said, like you get sent to a mission and you're all over the place. Like 6 weeks here, 6 weeks there, 6 weeks with this person, maybe 12 weeks with that one. But like you're tossed around quite a bit. You get to see a lot of different areas, be with a lot of different people and personalities and things. Not me. Not me though. God was like, nope. I called you to Fresno, California, and there you will be. I served my entire mission in Fresno, California. That city was my street, my town. All right? Those gang members, those were my brothers. Oh my gosh. I'm dead serious. They were my guards at night. Loved them. If you had a teardrop tattoo, we were vibing. You were my best friend. That was the streets of Fresno. If you've never been to Fresno, first off, honestly, congrats. Because, okay, let's be honest. Fresno's not a place to go. There's a city right next to it called Clovis. It's about similar to Lehigh and American Fork as far as geographical area. Fresno is gang members, trash on the street, just really, really rough. Then you just cross that border 10 minutes up the road to Clovis, $1 million homes, pristine streets. I mean, it is so clear the distinction between Fresno and Clovis. They are different. They are very, very different. That's Fresno. Greatest people ever. But I wouldn't recommend to ever go there. There's nothing there. Anyways, I spent my entire mission in Fresno, and then I only had 5 companions total, which is, again, very rare. So I had my trainer. One of those transfers, we had another companion join us, so we were in what was called a trio. Then I trained another missionary, and then I was put with another companion. And then my last companion I was with just for the last little bit because I served a year and then I got a tumor and it was a whole situation. But I don't know anyone from my mission because unless you served in my one city, I never saw you and I wasn't allowed to leave. Unless you were one of my 4 companions, I didn't know you. So I would hear tales of all these other places around the mission and these rich areas that all these missionaries were going to for Christmas, and they were getting all these huge gifts and all this stuff. Not that I needed it, I really didn't. But when you're 19 years old and you're hearing about everybody else getting, minky blankets for Christmas and you're giving away all your stuff to the poor. It's
clearly we're serving different missions here.
Yeah, I was we're in different parts of town. But it was great. Moving on to the life of a missionary. I want to know what you expected mission life to be versus what was reality.
I had the same expectations about my mission that I did about parenthood. Everybody was like, it's gonna be great. It's the best 2 years. You're gonna do so great. And you're gonna develop a testimony and all these things. And for sure it was that. What nobody tells you about the screaming child at 3 a.m. in the morning was all the other cultural things about the mission. It turns out each mission has a mission president and has their subset of missionaries, and it has its own problems. It has its own difficulties, whether that be how big the areas are or the types of missionaries and people who are there. Obviously, these are kids, right? So your rules that you have to follow every day are based off of reactions from other people's actions, are based off of the stupid 20-year-old who snuck out and did something with somebody, and now all of a sudden I literally cannot be outside of sight and sound in my apartment. If I want to go from the living room to the bedroom and you are in the living room, my toe has to be sticking out.
No freaking way.
My first transfer, that was the rule. If I had to go and get something from the bedroom, I either had to have my toe hanging out and be trying to one arm and one leg grab this thing from my bed, or say, elder, come with me. I have to go get my journal from the nightstand.
That would have made me quit. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank goodness. Yeah. Once we were in the apartment, you could be wherever you wanted to be.
I see.
We didn't have iPads or anything like that.
Yeah, we didn't have iPads either. We were...
So there was a lot less that they could get into, I mean, I still cried in the shower, but just a little bit of privacy. You're still in there. You're still in the same house.
Yeah.
You're still in the same 1-bedroom apartment with no furniture.
Yep.
Because there's only 2 desks. We didn't even have a couch. It was 2 beds, 2 desks, and a fan.
The bare minimum to live there.
For a year. I lived with no furniture.
I lived in an apartment that was a studio apartment, which was a renovated garage of somebody in the town, okay? It wasn't a member. These guys weren't a part of our congregation. It was just somebody who was subletting their garage. And that was our apartment. We had our desks, we had a futon, we had our beds right next. And if you wanted to do a little wrestling match, we had some guy in my district that liked to wrestle. And so we would push everything to the side and we would make a little mosh pit. And then you would just start to go. And it was so bad.
I feel like elders and sisters have very different mission experiences.
Oh, 100%.
I only ever lived with just my companion, right? Because sometimes you would do switches, exchanges is what they were called, where you and your companion would switch with another companionship at some point during the 6-week period.
Just to give yourself a break.
Yeah, just one day. It was literally one day and one night.
Oh, did you have the night?
Yeah. So
sometimes it was just the day. It was
really?
At 10 a.m. We would switch, and I would be with a different companion. And then at dinner time, you'd switch back, and then you were right back in it.
I remember I would stay, at their apartment, and there would be 4 of them in an apartment together instead of just you and your companion. And I was like, what I wouldn't give to talk to somebody else, to just have a conversation with someone else other than her, and I don't mean that as any particular companion. Anyone, you could love them, okay? Your spouse, whoever it is.
Oh, it was wonderful marriage training. I'll tell you what.
I was just like, wow, what would it be like to come home and have someone that wasn't there with you every second of your day to talk to?
Could you call other companionships in your district?
Nope.
You couldn't call them either?
Nope.
Oh, we could at least call the elders in our district.
Just chit-chat?
Yeah, you would just chit-chat. You would literally be teenage girls on the phone and be like, so how was your day? Who did you run into today?
No, I freaking wish. You had the comparison of being a new father. For me, I thought, everyone talks about this hypothetical, like, it's gonna be so amazing, but so hard. But, no one explains to you what's hard. Uh-huh. Like, what does that word even mean when it comes to a mission? Well, I get on my mission. Here's what I didn't know. That my mission was actually the military. I signed up for the Marine Corps accidentally, unknowingly, and that's what I was a part of. My mission had a ton of rules, a ton. Extra rules, which actually aren't allowed anymore. You're not allowed to have additional rules as a mission president. They've really been a lot stricter about that, and I know why. Speaking from firsthand experience, we had the missionary handbook, which is a rule book you have to take with you. And it has all of the rules from all the stupid decisions that missionaries have made over the years. And
those are the general rules for all missionaries all around the world.
All around the world. Things like you can't be alone in a room with children because...
You can't hold children.
You can't hold children.
You can't be alone with somebody of the opposite sex.
Yeah. All those rules are truly to keep you safe as a missionary. Because you could be accused of things. That's also why you're always sight and sound of your companion. Because then you always have a witness with you that can, vouch for you and things. And also, missionaries, it is kind of dangerous, especially in different parts of the world. There have been missionaries that have been kidnapped. There have been missionaries that have been shot, raped. It can be really dangerous to be a missionary, and it's just all for your safety. Well, anyways, we have the regular missionary handbook called the White Bible in a lot of missions. Mine, we weren't allowed to call it that, because remember, I was in the military. So mine, you weren't allowed to use any abbreviations. So the APs, they weren't the APs. They were the assistants to the president. It was the sister training leaders. It was preparation day. Don't you dare call it P-Day. You call it P-Day, every missionary around you is going to be like, preparation day. Oh my gosh. And then we had an additional handbook made by our mission president that had additional rules. We couldn't listen to any music that wasn't classical or from the Tabernacle on Temple Square. So that was hard.
We had a similar rule. I think first it was Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square. I think then we branched out to EFY and For the Strength of Youth and everything. Anything that was produced by the church we could do. But
my second mission president was a lot more lax. Mm-hmm. But my first one, like I said, we get there, and in the missionary handbook, you have a schedule that you got to follow. Wake up, usually between 6 and 6:30 a.m., then you exercise for 30 minutes, and then you have study time, language time, if you speak a language. That's usually anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours, depending on your mission, depending on what you have to do.
You're normally out the door by 10.
Yeah, for ours it was 9. Because we were English speaking, we didn't have language study. I think you did an hour of personal study, and then you planned for 30 minutes, and you had 30 minutes for breakfast or something like that. Anyways, well, normally in most missions, at least from what I've heard, you can do whatever you want for your 30 minutes of exercise in the morning. Not our mission. Not the military training center that I got sent to, Fresno, California. It was 20 minutes of running, 2-minute plank, 10-minute cardio. Every single morning.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm sorry, what? wait. I thought I was here to talk about Jesus. What do you mean I'm planking for 2 minutes? every single morning. And then if you were late to a meeting, even 30 seconds, everybody had to plank while you sang Called to Serve. Yeah, the face Robbie's making right now is like horrified. Yeah, so was I. It was a test of your obedience, because obviously if you were planking every single morning for 2 minutes, then you would be able to plank for 2 minutes while you sing that song in, any other setting, right? So if you can't hold your plank, then it was kind of like this public shame thing where, oh, elders, haven't you been out for 18 months and you can't hold a plank? Clearly you're not exercising correctly in the morning. I felt like I entered just like a sea of Pharisees, of just like everyone was so stickler to this exact obedience. Everyone was each other's boss. Imagine me thinking what my mission was gonna be, and everyone at church saying my whole life, like, it's gonna be the best thing that's ever happened to you, but it's gonna be so hard. And I was like, why did nobody tell me that this is what hard was? I felt like I had just been lied to.
Oh, you were
Truly.
Totally, 100%.
So that was like really hard for me, especially the first 2 weeks. Getting there and having so many rules that I was like, no one really told me about these. Now I know that's not across the board. Like, that just happened to be my mission president. My particular mission culture was like that.
That is so
so
crazy.
if you were 1 minute late or any amount of minutes late out of a meeting, we had a rule: you could only be in a meeting with someone, or, like visiting with them or teaching a lesson for 45 minutes, and dinners were 1 hour. So if you were late, you would have to call to account. This was my least favorite part. This is something that I really struggled with when I got home. And listen, I'm gonna say this, and I'm not trying to like paint a bad picture of missions. I'm just being 100% honest about my personal experience, what it was like for me, and why it was so difficult for me, because I disagreed with these rules, but I couldn't disagree. Like, I had to do them. So that was really hard for me, because in my mind, I was like, this doesn't seem like, why are we doing this, But I have to follow. I didn't feel like there was an option for me not to follow.
And there wasn't.
Yeah, and later, like, after I got home from my mission, I would find out that other missionaries, like, didn't follow all the rules, and I was like, wait, that was an option? Like, I could have not done that? I'm a really good rule follower, but I don't just blindly follow. I will sit there and be frustrated, and eventually I'm gonna say something about it. Like, I'm not just gonna accept something I don't agree with. And that, I think, was really helpful for me now in my life, because there are a lot of things in the church, rules-wise, that I don't fully agree with. And I feel like now, because I had that experience on my mission, I have the courage to like stand up and say that, hey, I don't actually fully agree with this. Like, let's get down to the root of like the gospel. What are we really trying to go for here? And maybe give voice to the voiceless, those that feel like they're suffering in silence. We can still be in this space together. Mm-hmm. I feel very strongly about that. I love the gospel. It is my whole life. It brings me so much joy and so much peace, but there are definitely aspects to it that I disagree with.
Yeah.
And I am much more vocal now because I suffered as a missionary, because I didn't feel like I could be vocal. And now I'm like, I'm never going to live in that space again. It taught me. So for those things, I'm grateful for my mission. But we would get out of a meeting with somebody, say we're 2 minutes late out of their house. I then have to call my district leaders, one of the other fellow missionaries, some 18-year-old kid who's in charge of me, quotes put around that. I have to call them and say like, hey, elder so-and-so, we were 2 minutes late out of our lesson with Sarah. And then they would be like, oh, sisters, what happened? And then we gotta like confess of like what went wrong, of why we got out so late. And it's like, well, like when we first got there, her 12 children were running around everywhere. It was like a little chaotic. She was in the middle of cooking dinner, all this stuff. Explain the situation.
Why didn't you go out and then come back in? And
yeah, there was just so much of that. And so then at the end of the call, you would have to say like what you're going to do better, how you're going to fix the problem to make sure that it never happens again. And then they would always say, thank you so much for accounting. Remember to account to the Lord. And then we would have to pray for forgiveness. That was really hard for me because I disagreed. I didn't feel like in a lot of times I needed to pray for forgiveness. Like I was in someone's home doing their dishes, talking to them about Jesus. I'm at the 40-minute mark. I'm being mindful. I'm talking to them about the gospel. I'm helping them. We're not just shooting the breeze about nothing. Like I am there for a purpose and I chose to go on a mission. I'm looking at the clock and I only have 5 minutes left or else I get in trouble. And then she reveals that she had this terrible, horrible thing happen in her life.
And she's now finally vulnerable, and you're like, oh, I gotta go in 3 minutes. Do that next time or whatever, right?
No, exactly. And I was like, I'm not gonna leave this woman in this moment of her telling me what has happened in her life of why she doesn't believe in God. That's why I'm here. I'm here to hear her and to hopefully bring some comfort as much as I can as a 19-year-old that knows nothing. That's what I'm here for, that I was set apart to do. So it was really hard for me to leave a house where I felt like this huge spiritual experience, had this moment where I was able to see one of God's children. I feel like I was able to genuinely help her get to a different place or a different way of thinking, and to realize that there is someone else out there, that someone cares about her, that she has God and she has Jesus, and she can call to them and they will come to her and she can have a different life for herself, right?
Yeah.
And then I leave that house and then I'm being told off by two 18-year-old boys that I'm somehow in the wrong and need to pray for repentance. Like, that was hard for me.
I can definitely say that is your mission unique. You're unique
absolutely.
to your mission 100%. But it really is the difference between the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. It turns out when you are a bunch of 18 to 20-year-olds who are out here, you have to have some form of structure. And a lot of these people have never had structure like that. And so what they do is they throw their entire lives into the rules. And that is super difficult. That is really difficult. And it turns out it is life experience and lessons to separate the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. What are we actually trying to do here? What is the purpose of this? Why do we have this rule? I understand why we have this rule, which is not to loiter, not to waste time, be productive, be mindful of all those things, right? But then to say, okay, there's my rule, but here's my scenario. My scenario does not fit into that rule, and that is okay. For me, really, and for my mission, that was what they were really trying to do. We had very strict mission president right before. I came in right as my mission president came in. I was the first transfer in with the new mission president. The previous one, I mean, he had a lot of rules as well.
Well, I think what happens is the pendulum really swings.
The pendulum swings. It
They
totally
start
swings.
off pretty lax because they come in, you know, like they don't really know anything and they're like, I'm going to change things and I'm going to, you know, and then they realize that 18-year-olds take advantage and then they slowly progress into like being super, super, super strict. They can get to a place of being too strict. And then boom, another mission president comes in.
Yeah, so that pendulum swings, and I get the pendulum a lot, right? And our mission president, he was really trying to focus on that spirit of the law. And I really enjoyed what Dad said to me was, oftentimes you go out on your mission out of duty. But unless it turns into desire, you will fail, basically. You're white knuckling so much and you will not be sustained on duty alone. You have to turn that into a desire. I really do want to be out here. That is really where that spirit of the law does come in. It's like, okay, no, I am out here for a purpose, and that purpose is joyful and it is happy.
I really like that. And I saw that happen a lot, especially with elders, where culturally it's seen as much more of you have to do this instead of a choice. I feel like now it's a lot more like a mission is a choice. And if you don't serve a mission, that's not going to keep you from any sort of eternal consequence, you know? But it can be very formative and it can be helpful to you, and you gotta grow up.
You gotta grow up, and I think that is the prime way to grow up.
And I think it's thoughtful that you take these 18-year-olds in the most selfish part of their life, where it's all about you, what you want to do, where you're going to go to school, and you take these young formative years and instead you say, why don't you go serve? You don't have to think about rent. You don't have to think about school or studying or dating or anything like that. Take this time to serve other people, to see the world, and to get outside yourself a little bit.
To get outside, that's really where it is. You are so far outside of yourself that you're just serving and helping others. That's where the amazing part of the mission comes into play, where people are like, it's so amazing, but it's so hard. The amazing part is you forget yourself, you go to work, you serve others, and you see how good other people are, how good other cultures are, and ways of living, how people think, how people process different religions. You're exposed to so many different things. Yes, you're teaching your own, but you learn about so many others. I think it makes you a well-rounded individual.
Oh, I absolutely agree. going out on a mission, like, it was very much my decision to go, and I think that that's what made it the most enjoyable that it could be, even though I had a very difficult time with all of these rules that I was like, these are so unnecessary. A lot of them I was like, these don't apply to me. I am not here to waste time. I am here to do what I came to do. Now, another thing that was difficult for me was how numbers-based my mission was. You had to, have a certain amount of people at church on Sunday and have a certain amount of people that you're baptizing every month and like all this stuff. Very early into my mission, like we're talking first transfer, first 6 weeks, I really struggled with that because I was like, I understand having goals, but at what cost? Because people right now are just getting numbers. Okay, yeah, you had someone show up to church, but they know nothing, and you have to have them show up to church twice before you can baptize them. So they're just showing up to church twice. They get them there one time this month and then one time 5 months from now, so it counts, and now they're just gonna baptize them. Like, that was culturally, again, with just my mission, like, that's not how it's supposed to go. I didn't like that. I felt like we were being taught to be salespeople. Mm-hmm. That was just the culture of it. And I was like, that's not what this is for me. That's not what I feel like Jesus taught. It was, come to me, all ye that are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. It's not, come to me so you can get your numbers, missionary, in your 6-week period that you're living from 6 weeks to 6 weeks. Like, this is these people's lives. I decided really early on that everyone's walking around saying they're harvesters. That was like a big theme of the mission. Like, we're here to harvest people. We're here to baptize. But I was like, well, what about the seed planters? Can't I just be a seed planter? But that was like completely unacceptable, obviously. It was like, no, that's not your calling. And I just, had a heart-to-heart with Heavenly Father and was like, listen, I can't do what you're asking me to do. It doesn't feel right to me. I don't agree with it morally. I feel like if there is someone out there that wants to be baptized and wants this, that it's going to happen. That there's nothing that I'm going to do that will prevent that from happening.
You can't do what they're asking you to do, not what he was asking you to do, not what the Lord was asking
exactly.
you to do. It was, I can't do what
the mission is, what this mission culture is asking me to do. I came here to be Jesus's voice in his hands and to stop on the side of the road to help rake somebody's leaves in their yard.
With no other agenda and things. And that's the point.
That was my true goal. Now, that was not celebrated in any way or fashion in the mission culture, but that was what I was there for. So that was the constant battle that I was fighting, is I'm going to be a seed planter. I am just going to go about doing good. If it's going to result in something great. I had, just so everybody knows, stats-wise, I had 0 baptisms on my mission. Yeah. And I am so proud of that because I feel like for me, just me, that's not what I was there for. He needed me to go around planting seeds. And that's what I'm best at.
It became very clear to me as well on my mission that baptisms weren't going to be coming every day, right? It became very clear to me that the point of my mission was to become the father, the priesthood holder, the son of God that God needed me to be for the rest of my life. Once I realized, but that's what it is for me, then it was like, okay, then I don't care about the numbers. I don't care how many people did I pray with on the street today. That was the real moment that I could say I could forget myself and go to work, was because it's not about me. It wasn't about all those other things as well.
I love that. That's beautiful, brother.
So,
that's beautiful.
So
that's beautiful.
It's what sustains me today. How my foundation was really built so I can keep going and so I can keep doing it.
Yeah, I really think it's your intent. And I mean, at the end of the day, the whole, like, what would Jesus do? Jesus really did a lot of different things, a lot of things that were unconventional, that other people thought were crazy, that were breaking the rules of the times, but at the end of the day, what was he doing? He was being kind to others. He was telling people that there is more to this life than their struggles right there, that there is joy to be had.
And that eternal perspective, being able to look beyond what you're feeling right now, what you're experiencing right now, and look past that and say, yes, open your eyes to that.
Yeah, I love what you said about, like, the purpose of your mission. For mine, it was truly this mindset of, like, being a seed planter. I just wanted to spread the joy that I feel from the gospel. Because at the end of the day, I do have grievances, I do have all these things, but I find so much joy from the teachings of Jesus. I find joy in that. I find peace in that. I find answers there. And maybe it's different for other people, but that's where I find it. And so I'm going to share what I've found with other people. Just as I share a good movie that I love, that I think you're going to like too, I'm going to share these things that cause me not just temporary happiness, but truly joy and fulfillment and peace in my life. And as a missionary, sorry, I just want to talk about myself just a little bit more. Because actually, I've been dying to talk about this for a second, because I feel like I genuinely tried some really out of the box things, okay? I just need to like tell someone what I did, okay? Because it was a huge accomplishment for me. So just a few of my out of the box things that I did. Number one, I refused to knock doors. I wasn't gonna do it because I felt like a salesperson. I wasn't gonna interrupt somebody in their day. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna really work on the members. So I came up with this plan, and kudos to my companion, because she was really willing to go in on this with me and like support this plan together. I was like, you know what? We gotta stop adding people to this boat and instead start fixing the holes. Because once we fix the holes and we get rid of the water that's flooding in, then we'll actually have room for other people, you know? And we can help people in, rather than it's just like, we're just overflowing, people are going overboard.
Roses on the door and Jack doesn't fit. So let's fix the Titanic first.
No, exactly. I was like, all right, let's do this plan. I was in a ward at the time that had 90 women over 60. Okay, 40 of them were widows. The dynamics were crazy, and 5 of those were young widows, younger than 40. They hadn't had sisters in their area in forever. They had just had elders, which was very difficult because you have all these widows that can't invite the elders in, right? And they're all really old. A lot of them are in their 80s and 90s, who have just been written off for years and years and years as unable to do missionary work, right? And my goal was every single person here has joy in the gospel, clearly, because they're coming every Sunday, so they feel something, and they can share that with somebody else. Jesus has not written these people off. They are useful. We would go and be like, okay, we're gonna go with these 4 like young families, and then we're gonna go for these 4 widows each week. We have like 8 people. When we get to sacrament meeting, first thing in the morning, you know, we have 9 a.m. church, so I'm there at 7 a.m. She's with 2 of them, I'm with 2 of them, and we're trying to schedule an appointment. We would promise, like, it's only gonna be 15 minutes, and we stuck to that. I was like, if we're telling them something, we gotta follow through on what we're saying. We would set up a 15-minute meeting later in that week with these younger families that were in the ward, which were sparse. But I was like, we need them. We need these young families to be on board. They need to support us, and then we can get the older people in a different way. We would go to their house for this 15-minute meeting, and the goal of the 15 minutes was to learn everything possible about this family and give them a goal that was relevant to them. So instead of, you know, like, hey, who do you guys know that we could teach, or here's the Book of Mormon to give out? Absolutely not. That's way too far down the road, okay? How about you build some trust, some rapport with them? Do you even know their kids' names? So we would go in, and somewhere in that 15 minutes it would get revealed that, you know, they haven't had family prayer in a while, or they hadn't read their scriptures, because they always reveal, you know, sorry missionaries, we're bad at this. I'd be like, no, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Can you guys pray as a family one time this week? And can you pray for us? Like in your prayer, right? Like super simple. It had to be something that they could do in 5 minutes or less. That was one of the rules that I had set, was whatever goal that we had given them, 5 minutes or less for them to do. I would then write down that goal and magnetize it to their fridge. Because I'm gonna show you I can follow through. Because that's the thing, all these missionaries come in and out, they don't care about you. You're just another person, and your promises and you asking them mean nothing to these members, because this is, again, they're not living 6 weeks to 6 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to show them that when I ask you to do something, I'm gonna follow up on what I've asked you. Then I would go into the car after this 15-minute meeting, and I would write down every single fact that we learned about that family. The FBI would have been amazed at the information I had, all right? These books were filled with like their friends' names, their dogs' names, their kids, and their sports that they played and all this stuff. Like any recent events that were coming up that they were gonna do, I wrote that all down. And then later in the week, we would follow up with a thank you letter to that family. We would just drop it off, and that was what we did the last hour of the night when it was dark and you can't do anything. So we would drop off thank you letters, reminding them of their goal that we had set, because I would write down what I had told them and telling them, once again, we're going to follow up with you on Sunday. Now for the older people, what we would do is, instead of having them cook us dinner, we would offer to cook them dinner. I would say, can you buy all the ingredients? My companion's a great cook. We'll cook you dinner. We will serve you instead of you constantly serving the missionaries. Flipping that script a little bit. And these sweet little 80-year-old women would just be delighted by the fact that we're cooking them curry. And then we would talk to them about old women in the scriptures, about people who were lonely in the scriptures that had done things for God. We would then give them a pass-along card, a single pass-along card, and we would bear testimony, be like, Sister McClellan, who's 98 years old, like, like the most darling, sweetest old woman.
Give this to your nurse tomorrow.
That's exactly. But the thing is, they don't leave their house very often, right? Yeah. But they're going to doctor's appointments. They're seeing people. They're seeing secretaries. Because, they would tell us, like, oh, well, I don't see anybody. And I was like, well, don't you have a doctor's appointment on Tuesday? I want you to pray every day up until Tuesday that you can give out that card. I fully believe God is going to make that possible for you. Then we give them the pass-on card and magnetize it to their fridge. It comes Sunday. We follow up with every single one of those families that we were assigned. And the rule was you do not move on from that family until they follow through on their first commitment. So if they didn't follow through, then we'd be like, oh, that's no problem. Can we come over this week and teach you again for 15 minutes? Now they're like, oh, shoot. Those sisters, they're on us. Oh, shocking. When we showed up for the second 15-minute, hey, sisters, guess what? Guess what we did? We prayed as a family. Isn't that great, kids? Right? Then we celebrate. That's so amazing. You guys are incredible. Like validating, you did what we asked you to do, and you are going to be blessed for that. Promising them blessings, thanking them for that, and then doing another thing that takes 5 minutes or less. Or if the thing was praying, that's amazing. Okay, can you do that again? But this time, I need you to pray for these people that we're teaching. These are their specific needs. Get them invested in the things that we're doing. I'm telling you, it was the most incredible thing. Then they would have these experiences. We would have these moms that have 2 young kids, and they're like, sisters, I can't do anything. I was like, that's not a problem. Didn't you say your AC was going to be fixed this week? Can we come over and make cookies with you at the time that your AC is going to be fixed? So that way we can give them to the person fixing your AC. That person is someone coming to you, right? Who's to say that can't be an opportunity? We would capitalize on all these things and kind of help the members see that missionary experiences don't have to look one way to be a missionary experience, right? Mm-hmm. One of these members, I was like, hey, can we make cookies at your house? Man, I made so many cookies. She was like, sisters, I can't, but I actually have a neighbor who's a widow. She is a huge baker. She actually used to own a bakery. She would love to have you over. And so every single week we would go over to this non-member's house and we would bake cookies with her and we would listen to the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. We converted her to that. She loved it. And we would just talk with her about Jesus. She was a beautiful human. So we would make all of these cookies and we would plate them. We would then take them as thank you gifts to all the people that we had talked to that week, these families, to thank them for following through on their commitments. We would take them to these widows and we would always give them 2 plates. We would give them 1 plate as a thank you and then we would say, hey, can you give this other plate to your neighbor? We take all the work out for it. So they just need 30 seconds of courage to take that plate to their neighbor that they've never met, even though they've lived there for 10 years. I'm not asking to make the cookies. That's not what Jesus did. Sometimes he did ask for a ton, but a lot of times he met people where they were. He brought all the supplies. He brought all the things and was like, can you do this one thing? Just this one thing. And it was amazing. When they would have these experiences, I would then ask them every Fast Sunday, hey, can you bear your testimony and share your experience with the Lord? So now, not only are they having these experiences in private, but now every Fast Sunday, the meetings changed into every single member getting up and being like, so we had the sisters over, and I was like, that's right, we got them in our pocket. So over time, literally over the course of 2 months, I mean, you're doing this every single day for 10 hours, right? I'm meeting with a lot of people.
I'm making a lot of cookies.
I'm making a lot of cookies. And I'm going over to families. For family home evening, we would offer to teach family home evening for them. There was this one family. They had young kids, a 8 or 9-year-old and a 15-year-old and a son on a mission. So we go over and I was like, who's always neglected? The old people and then the small children. They're seen as not helpful. And then all these middle-aged people are so burnt out. They're so done with being asked to help with things because they've been helping their whole lives. Let's give them a break and let's re-inspire them and help them remember why they want to help. What this gospel is really about, the joy of the gospel. Because that's what we've forgotten. We're just in the day-to-day. I had this one family and was like, hey guys, so Thanksgiving's coming up. You know how for Valentine's Day you heart people's houses, heart attack them? What if we did something Thanksgiving themed? I asked the 9-year-old to pray to know who to turkey ding was what he decided.
Turkey ding?
A turkey ding.
I thought you were just gonna be like, it's the gobbler.
That actually would have been way better. All right. The 9-year-old came up with the name.
Hey, there you go.
So I was like, what should we call it? He was like, a turkey ding. And I was like, that's amazing. You're brilliant. So I was
inspired.
I was like, hey, will you pray to know who we should do this to? We had set up the next Monday that we were going to make the cookies together for family home evening and do it. The mother comes on Sunday, tears just streaming down her face. And she was like, sisters, you're never gonna believe what happened this week. She was like, every single night I would go in to tell him goodnight and he'd be kneeling, praying. On Saturday, he came down and was like, Mom, I finally know what friend we're gonna, sorry, I'm getting like so emotional, it was so cute. He had prayed all week. And so like her seeing her son pray, it was so beautiful because it was making her emotional. It was bringing back the innocence of the gospel, right? That like God can speak to all of us. There is no limit on age. Well, anyways, we go that next Monday and we turkey ding his friend. And that's all we did. We left the cookies and he wanted to leave a Book of Mormon with his little note written inside. That was his decision. And I was like, absolutely, like that's awesome. We can provide the Book of Mormon. You guys provide everything else. It didn't need to lead to a baptism. Like it was just this beautiful experience where this young boy wanted to share something that he loved, that he enjoyed with his friend. The entire family was like changed by that experience. And then on Fast Sunday, they're sharing that experience, right? You have this mother crying, talking about her son. And so then that inspires these other families. It was so beautiful. I had to get extra pass-along cards printed for Light the World. We had the most amazing, incredible ward mission leader of all time, Larry Hunt. I adore him and his wife. And he printed 1,000 pass-along cards for us because I was like, we need more.
Oh, wow.
We've only been allotted so many by my mission president. He was like, sisters, whatever you need. So he goes out and he gets someone to print 1,000 of these cards. We have these 90-year-olds coming up to us on Sundays being, sisters, I gave my pass-along card to the boy at the car wash and I gave it to the nurse. We would go over to families' houses to tie candy canes to the pass-along cards to then give out to ward members so that they could give them out. It became this huge, beautiful thing. And then, of course, I'm being told every Sunday when I'm calling my district leader that I'm wasting time making cookies. I was like, are you freaking kidding me, elder? Oh, yeah, you see why I struggled. Because I'm over here like, lives are being changed. And they're like, sisters, what do you mean you didn't knock a door? Like, oh, you're killing me, elder. Literally, I mean, you're killing me. This is not at all talking about any of the physical pain that I went through because I was, growing my tumor unknowingly in my spinal cord, cutting off the nerves to my legs. I was dealing with that. So on the days that I couldn't walk, literally, I was like, okay, what can I do? Around Christmas, I wrote a poem for the ward because I was like, I want to give a gift to my ward, but I have nothing to give. And so I wrote a poem. I'll post it on the Instagram. Everyone acted like I freaking gave them $1 million. I had it printed on the program for them. It was really nerdy and so stupid. But it was all I could do, and I knew that that was enough. Because anything that you're able to do is enough. I was in physical pain. I was not doing mentally okay because of my pain. But, when I couldn't walk, I would make a cake, and my companion and I, at the end of the day, after spending all day indoors, we would go deliver that cake to our neighbor. And I knew that that was enough. Because that's literally all I could do. I'm grateful for my mission for teaching me that it doesn't have to look a certain way and that it's okay if you're doing something that's different than everyone around you. And honestly, it's okay to break some rules. It's okay to be unconventional. And that is now how I live every single day of my life.
I love that. I really do think that just the essence of being a member, being a disciple of Jesus Christ, it is day to day. This is how I live my life. My life is lived in a way that I can exemplify Jesus Christ. I can exemplify his example. And whether it was on your mission or whether it is how you do things now, travel the world and go and do your study abroad and invite people to church and invite people to a branch president's island, whatever it is you. It is clearly being a disciple of Christ. There are things that, yes, you will find in the culture, and yes, that you will agree with or disagree with or follow or don't follow, wherever it is. Yeah. At the end of the day, where it boils down to is how you live your life and how you treat other people. And I love that that's what your mission taught you. Because what you could have gotten out of was so many other things. Oh, yeah. And you could have been bitter. You could have been resentful. Yeah. You could have been all of these different things. Yeah. But the purpose of your mission, the purpose of why you went out, was for Jesus Christ. It wasn't for your mission president. It wasn't for the missionaries. It was for Christ. Yeah. And I love that so much.
Thanks, brother. I will say I definitely grappled with that bitterness, and it took some therapy and some help to decide what I was going to do with those feelings, because those were legitimate things that I dealt with, and I disagree with how I was treated with what I was trying to do and what I knew I was accomplishing. I knew God was proud of me, but no one around me seemed to be. None of my peers, you know, so that was hard, but I choose now, as if you've listened to my bio episode, to put those roses in a vase. This will make more sense if you've heard my bio episode. I still see the thorns. I will talk about the thorns. You've heard a little bit about them in this episode, but I choose to see the beauty in the roses. And I now wear gloves. When I'm dealing with roses, when I'm dealing with gospel things, I wear gloves. And I feel like it's a part of my life's mission to help give gloves to others so that people aren't being hurt, but that they can experience the full beauty that the gospel has to offer.
I appreciate, and what's been eye-opening to me is there is that side of gospel living too, which is so funny because we're only 2 years apart and we're from the same family, but we have such drastically different mission experience, life experiences, right? Life views and points of views. It's so different that I become and can be very blind and ignorant to that side of things. I can be very even blunt and not sensitive to that aspect. Yeah. Because it doesn't make any sense to me. And I can be very much of as like, well, just hike up your britches and move on and all these things, right? And I can be very stereotypical like that. But it doesn't invalidate how I live my gospel, and it definitely doesn't invalidate how you live the gospel. What I think I've learned, not only today, but as I have seen your experiences, is that there are other ways to live the gospel. There is the spirit of the law. All roads lead to same top of mountain. There is a Shane quote if there ever was one.
Yeah, that's a Kelly family quote for
That
sure.
is a Kelly family quote, and I think that is definitely true. I appreciate your perspective. I appreciate and love hearing about your experiences because they are so faith-building as well.
Oh, thank you. I take a different path up that mountain. I pole dance. I do my thing. But I find joy in my path. And I find a lot of people that don't feel like they belong.
You're just on the other side of the mountain. And at the end of the day, our mansions are going to be
the same size.
I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say cross town. But
I'm going to be with my rainbow hair colored LGBTQ plus human beings. Like, that's who I'm with.
I like
that. Just good humans, you know? In the 99 sheep analogy, I definitely feel like I am the lost sheep. But in my version, it's actually like 10 on the outskirts. And because I'm on the outskirts, I'm able to like join up with the other sheep that are out there as well. Mm-hmm. You know, we're able to create our own little group for Jesus to find us. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just me going solo. I feel like a bigger part of what I do is because I'm out in the field, further away from the crowd, I'm able to see other people who are out there as well and who do feel lost. They don't have to come back to the crowd. That's not why I'm there. I'm just there to give some comfort until Jesus comes, because ultimately it's not my job.
Yeah.
Like, that's not my role. It's Jesus's role. If people want to come back, that's a personal decision. And I have no place in that, I don't feel. Mm-hmm. I am there to give comfort and to say, hey, I know what it's like to be on the outside. In some ways, I can't fully relate to your experience, but why don't you tell me about it? And I can see what I can do to just give comfort to you where you are right now. We don't have to go anywhere. That's not what I'm here for. I feel like that's something that God has called me to do. We all have different roles, and I think that they're all equally important.
See, and growing up, I really resented the fact that you cared more about your friends than it felt like you cared about family or about me or things like that. And it took me a long time to realize that it had nothing to do with me. That you liked me just fine, but you didn't want to be with the group. You were out there looking for the one. You were out on the outside finding those people who were sitting alone at lunch and then being like, hey, I want to bring them to our family events and all these things. And for a long time, I was like, why the heck are we bringing friends to family stuff? And why can't it just be family? Then finally I realized, and I'm like, she is coming to the family. She's also bringing others who either don't have a family here or who are struggling or whatever it is. you are bringing people along. And the moment that my eyes opened up to that and I realized what was happening, I was like, well, crap, why am I not bringing my friends? What am I doing wrong? And all these things. And I think it is so beautiful because I struggled with it for a long time. And I think it was finally with Felicity and Jake, and when I came back from my mission, and when you came back and we were adults and we didn't see each other as much, and it was like, no, we can bring this joy out to others. I finally was like, oh, that's what she learned from her mission, and that's what she's taking to her life, and that is her life's purpose, and that is okay too. It took me a while, but I absolutely love it. I love that that's who you are. And that's what you do, and you never compromise that, and it is very inspiring.
Wow, you got me freaking emotional again. That was really nice. Wow, I don't know what to thank you. Thank you so much for saying that, because it really is hard. Sometimes I feel like when I leave the group, I fear of what people in the group are going to think, right? That they're going to think incorrectly that, like, I don't like them, or I don't want to be a part of them, or I'm too cool, or too whatever, because that's not how I view it.
Or it's immediately like I'm going away, right?
Yeah.
And I'm leaving. And I do think there are a lot of people in our lives and who we went to high school with or wherever. It is when I go away, I am going away.
Right.
And I do think that it's taken a while for me to realize, no, that's not the intent. She's not going away, and she's not trying to go away.
Yeah. I just find myself there.
You just find yourself there, and then you do your thing there too.
Yeah,
right?
That's exactly how I feel. Is sometimes I feel this guilt, like when I travel, right? Like when I go live in these other countries, of like, why do I feel like I have to leave? You know, because my culture around me, my church culture, as well as my family culture, and just Utah in general, is telling me that I gotta stay, and that this is the plan, this is what you do, and this is how it looks to be a disciple. And I've just never ever felt like that was in the cards for me. That's not what I'm called on earth to do. I feel like so often we think of the gospel as this like telescope of just, you have to look at it exactly this way. But to me, the gospel is a kaleidoscope. It is full of colors and different angles and different ways to approach it. Maybe we all see something a little bit different when we look inside, but at the end of the day, I think it's beautiful. That's what I love to celebrate. That's what I see. That's why I need a frolic in the fields away from the crowd, is because there's so much more than what I see right there. And if you find satisfaction and joy in that, I think that that's just fine. We all have different purposes. Exactly what you said, that one is not better than the other. I think if you're trying to be a good person and you are kind to others around you and you are respectful, then that's truly, isn't that what Jesus was? Like, isn't that what this whole life's all about? What would Jesus do? I think he would do all of those things.
Yeah.
On the inside and on the outside.
Yeah. Turns out you can live your covenants and be faithful and do all those things as well.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode. Be sure to come back next week for the final installment in this little saga with my brother. As always, please give me a rating. Please give me a review. Tell your friends. Post about it on the Instagram. Follow my Instagram. Also do that. All right? Okay. Thanks, that's all I have for you today. These have been all of my thoughts on life, because this is Life According to Nikki.